What's going on, guys? It's Greg here, aka NYPrepper. It is Tuesday, April 14th, 2026, and I have some breaking news to share with you guys. Right now it is 15:23 Eastern Time here in the United States, and I wanted to update you guys on the situation with Iran. So right now we have a U.S. presidential doomsday plane up in the air. It was just scrambled from Offutt Air Base, home of U.S. Strategic Command, and this is a plane that's used by the President and the Defense Secretary to command the entire U.S. nuclear arsenal and the entire U.S. military from the air. It is EMP hardened. And also we have a nuke sniffer plane that took off at the same time as the doomsday plane. These planes can trace radiation in the atmosphere. So this is pretty unusual. It looks like U.S. Strategic Command is on high alert for some reason. And the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu consulted with his security cabinet on Sunday to discuss the option of resuming the war with Iran. So Israel is already planning to resume the war against Iran at the highest levels, meetings taking place on Sunday. That's when they have their weekly security cabinet meeting. And a White House official said that the upcoming talks with Iran are still under study and have not been scheduled yet. So there were some reports. Trump said that potentially in the next 2 days there could be more talks with Iran, possibly in Geneva. But as of right now, they have not been scheduled yet. And the Israeli defense minister said the U.S. and Israel have agreed to remove enriched uranium from Iran as the most important condition for ending the war. Okay, so the U.S. and Israel have that critical red line for Iran in any negotiation, which is that they have to be able to remove that enriched uranium that's still remaining in Iran, and Iran did not agree to that, and that was the major sticking point in the negotiations. And this could be one reason why Trump ordered the ceasefire, and that's to get more forces into the region for round 2, which is clearing the Strait of Hormuz and the ground operations to seize control of the nuclear sites. So according to USNI News, that's the U.S. Naval Institute, citing 2 American defense officials, a third aircraft carrier, the USS George H.W. Bush, is now on its way to the Middle East, and its escorts are coming as well. And what's interesting is that it did not transit through the Strait of Gibraltar into the Mediterranean, but instead it's going to be sailing around the entire continent of Africa. It's going to go all the way around the southern tip of Africa, and they say the reason why is they're afraid that the carrier could be attacked by the Houthis if it goes through the Red Sea. So it's got to go all the way around Africa. And apparently this carrier strike group is currently operating off the coast of Namibia. Okay, so this could be the reason why Trump ordered the ceasefire, okay, because he needs more time to bring the forces into the region. And U.S. Central Command announced that the U.S. began a blockade of all exports from Iranian ports starting yesterday, Monday, April 13th at 10 a.m. The blockade will be enforced impartially against vessels of all nations entering or departing Iranian ports and coastal areas, including all Iranian ports on the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman. CENTCOM forces will not impede freedom of navigation for vessels transiting the Strait of Hormuz to and from non-Iranian ports. Okay, so this is a full-scale blockade of Iran. The U.S. is enforcing a full-scale blockade of Iran. No goods will be able to leave or go into Iran. Okay, this is absolutely huge news, and in my opinion, this is the last chance for Iran. If they don't give in to Trump's demands now, I think we're going to see some massive air and ground attacks that are going to be even more intense than what we have seen so far. Okay, but if you look at history, guys, every time there was a blockade, war always started after blockades. Okay, blockades are always, I mean, how many wars, you can go back the last 100 years, how many wars started right after a blockade or because of a blockade, okay? And U.S. Central Command said that already 6 ships were instructed to turn back due to the blockade, and they complied with the instructions. The Wall Street Journal reports that 15 U.S. naval vessels are currently enforcing the blockade of Iran. And Reuters is reporting that a Chinese tanker sanctioned by the U.S. passed through the Strait of Hormuz despite the U.S. blockade. So I don't know if that was a one-time deal that China and the U.S. made, or if the Chinese tanker wasn't even going to Iran. We don't know, but maybe the U.S. Made an exception for some reason. Iran says it has alternative trade routes through Russia, Central Asia, and China, and warns that a U.S. blockade will backfire. So this is not just a blockade of the Strait of Hormuz, okay? They're trying to minimize the severity by the language, because yesterday they were saying, oh, it's just a blockade of oil and the Strait of Hormuz. No, this is a full-scale blockade of Iran, guys. Full blockade. That would be like if we moved all our naval ships off the coast of Canada and said, okay, now no ships can leave Canada and no ships can go into Canada. All right. So that is huge, guys. That is huge. Iran is going to be pretty pissed off. I don't think they're going to want to negotiate after a blockade. Okay. And before I continue with the breaking news, I wanted to mention the sponsor for this update, which is Matt Hat Jerky. Guys, if you're a beef jerky lover like myself, you got to try Matt Hat Jerky. This is the best beef jerky I've ever had. I personally met the owner of this company at SHOT Show, and he's actually local to Pennsylvania. This company has an interesting story behind it. He founded this company when he was 11 years old. Yeah, that's right, 11 years old. He's now 19, and he makes gourmet beef jerky, the best jerky I've ever had. He's got over a dozen different flavors, and it's all sourced with U.S. beef, so no foreign beef, no nitrates, and no MSG. So it's all natural American beef jerky. And if you use my promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And you got to go to matthatjerky.com, and I'm going to leave a link in the description down below. That's matthatjerky.com. One word, matthatjerky.com. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off your entire order, and the link and the promo code are in the description down below. And the Iranian parliament speaker said yesterday, enjoy the pump figures. With the so-called blockade, soon you'll be nostalgic for $4 to $5 gas. Wow. And no port in the Persian Gulf or the Gulf of Oman will be safe if our ports are threatened, said Iran's Central Military Command. And the British Maritime Trade Organization issued an advisory warning that all Iranian ports and access to the country's coast have been restricted. Okay, so the shipping organizations are officially putting out the information that you cannot sail into Iranian ports whatsoever, okay? And the Washington Post is reporting that Chinese officials say they are worried that there may be an escalation soon between the U.S. and Iran due to the situation with the Strait of Hormuz. And ABC News reports that a Pentagon official said that there is the Abraham Lincoln aircraft carrier and 11 destroyers and 3 amphibious assault ships in the Middle East right now. Okay, so that's a massive amount, but we have another aircraft carrier on its way. And according to the New York Times, citing two senior Iranian officials in response to the U.S. proposal for a 20-year suspension of Iranian uranium enrichment, Iran countered with a proposal for a severely reduced 5-year suspension on uranium enrichment, which was rejected by the Trump administration, per a U.S. official. Additionally, Iran refused to allow enriched material to be removed from the country, which was a key U.S. demand, but instead offered to dilute it. Okay, so that's just some of the details of the negotiations. So key differences there. The U.S. wanted a 20-year suspension on enrichment. Iran wanted 5 years. The U.S. wants to remove the material. Iran wants the material to stay but be diluted. So big differences there. And the New York Times reported that Pakistan is pushing to organize a second round of talks between the U.S. and Iran this week. And Rosatom, the Russian nuclear energy company, announced that most of the Russian workers at Iran's Bushehr nuclear power plant have been evacuated. So that is big news. Russia would not evacuate their scientists from this Iranian nuclear power plant if they weren't concerned. Okay, so this means that the Bushehr nuclear power plant is fair game for military operations by the U.S. and Israel. Okay, if there's no Russians there, they don't have to worry about dragging Russia into the war. And a U.S. Army unit ran out of its entire stock of precision strike missiles early in last month's war with Iran. The missile, still in testing at the time, was used in combat for the first time and expended quickly. So the precision strike missile is the new version of the ATACMS, which is for the HIMARS. These are the missiles that Ukraine wanted so badly in the early days of the Ukraine war. The original ATACMS has a range of 200 miles or 100 miles. And now this new missile is supposed to double the range of the ATACMS and push it out to 500 miles or even more, which is insane. So apparently the U.S. Army used up a lot of those during the early days of the Iran war. They were literally testing the missile in combat. They were using Iran as a proving ground, essentially. And American officials told Reuters that no extension for the temporary waiver for Iranian oil transported by sea. So if you remember, they put out a temporary waiver for countries buying Iranian oil because of the Strait of Hormuz closure. Well, it's supposed to expire, I think, this week. And they're not going to extend that, okay? So that's a big red flag right there. And The Atlantic quoted a U.S. military official who said that Israel sometimes carried out strikes on targets in Iran without prior consultation with the United States. And a federal judge dismissed Trump's $10 billion lawsuit against the Wall Street Journal and Rupert Murdoch on Monday over a story on his ties to Jeffrey Epstein. And Russia's Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov says Russia is still ready to accept Iran's enriched uranium. Of course they are. North Korea tested a strategic cruise missile launched from a destroyer. 2 strategic cruise missiles and 3 anti-warship missiles were fired from the Chohyun destroyer. So North Korea continuing to test their missiles. And Romania scrambled fighter jets on Tuesday after Russia launched drone attacks near its border with Ukraine. The Romanian government said 2 Romanian F-16s took off from an airbase in the southeast of the country, and air defense systems were put in firing positions. Bucharest's defense ministry said in a statement, no drones ultimately crossed over into Romanian airspace, the government said. Wow. And we just had a revolution in Hungary. Hungary just had its largest voter turnout since 2002, and they elected this guy. His name is Peter Magyar, and he is the opposite of Viktor Orban. So Viktor Orban was pro-Russia, and this guy is now pro-Europe and pro-NATO. So this is going to have a huge impact on the Ukraine war and on Eastern Europe. okay, because he is now going to orient Hungary towards the EU and towards NATO. So this is a big win for Ukraine, huge win for Ukraine and for NATO. Okay, but let me just play his victory speech here. You can clearly see his opinions are completely opposite of Viktor Orban, especially on the Ukraine war. Take a listen.
In Hungary knows that Ukraine is the victim of this war, and that Ukraine, based on the Budapest Memorandum of 1994, it is the job of any Ukrainian government to protect its territorial integrity and sovereignty, and no one should tell them that hopefully at the end of a 4-year war, under what conditions they should enter peace or sign a peace treaty. So we cannot say any country to give up their territory. If they do, they are a traitor. And this is what the Fidesz politicians said. Then I would like to ask them, what happened? What would you do if Russia attacked Hungary? Which Hungarian counties would you be willing to give up? So this is blood.
So completely opposite from Viktor Orban. And here we have some interesting footage coming out of Poland. This is in Warsaw, showing a robot chasing after wild hogs. If you guys are not aware, Poland has a overpopulation of wild hogs that they're just naturally occurring in Eastern Europe. They weren't transplanted there like here in the U.S., and they like to go into the cities at night and raid garbage cans. And so this inventor here, his name is Edward Warchocki, and he unleashed his Terminator robot at these wild boars. This is absolutely insane, and this is clearly signs that potentially we could be looking at a Terminator-style apocalypse situation.
I tupnij jeszcze im nogą. Dobrze, i wystraż je jeszcze.
And look at this thing running. This is like straight out of a movie. I mean, this is crazy. Look at this. The Terminators are coming, guys. They made a movie about the Terminators 40 years ago, and now we're starting to see real-life Terminators popping up. I mean, imagine this thing chasing after you. And this is just a private inventor. Imagine what the U.S. military can come up with, you know, with a $1.5 trillion budget. Okay. So this is just totally insane. Make sure you stock up on some anti-material ammo. And then here we have some cool footage coming out of the Pacific Ocean, showing the U.S. Navy cracking open the Orion space capsule after the astronauts returned from the first manned mission to the moon in decades. So check this out.
Yes! Do it. Say it. Yes! Let's go! Pin.
Get your seal cover.
Seal cover.
Here. Right there. You got it?
We got you.
I got you, laddie, so lean over.
Take your time. Seal cover's on.
All right, get it. All right. That's it. 4 green.
4 green. Ike. welcome home. Christina, welcome home. Yes. Jeremy, absolutely welcome home, brother. There it is, Reed. What's up? Welcome home, brother.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
What's really crazy is this one astronaut here literally has his cell phone and he's taking pictures of the Navy coming in. Look at that. That is crazy. Could you imagine just like flying around the moon in a little capsule like this? I mean, this thing is tiny. It's like being inside of a tank. Really confined space. They were sitting in this little capsule for I don't know what, a week or two. So big hats off to these brave men and women risking their life for space exploration. Absolutely badass. But that's the latest breaking news that I have. I might be back later on tonight with a live stream or a video update. Make sure you're subscribed. And until the next time, take care, God bless, and don't forget the 3 Ps. Prepare, practice, and persevere. And this update was sponsored by EMP Shield. Guys, EMP Shield has created a special discount just for you, the listeners of the NYPrepper channel. If you go to empshield.com and use the promo code NYPrepper, you can get 15% off your entire order. And why do you need an EMP Shield? Well, this is a special device to protect your vehicle, your RV, your solar generators, your radios from an electromagnetic pulse, which could be caused by a solar flare or potentially a rogue country like North Korea detonating an electromagnetic pulse weapon over the United States that's mounted onto a satellite. So protect your vehicles, protect your RV, protect your radios, protect your generators with an EMP Shield. Use my promo code NYPrepper to get 15% off. Installation is super simple. This is a veteran-owned business, 100% American-made, and the EMP Shields have been tested by the military, okay? And free shipping is included to the entire continental United States. And the link and the promo code are in the description below this video.